Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Penny Bloom podcast. Today, we are discussing Thor: The Dark World to continue our comic book movie journey through film. It was released on November 8th, 2013, the fourth birthday of my little brother. Fun fact. Um, with a story by Robert Rodat and Don Payne, with a screenplay by Christopher Marcus, Stephen McFeely, and Christopher L. Yost. I am Colton Robertson. I am joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And this is one that I know that me and you have a soft spot for. We're
Yes.
both big fans of the Thor movies, and we've always kind of discussed this one as overhated. And I still think I feel that way. How are you feeling fresh off of this viewing of Thor: The Dark World?
Definitely I think the public's perception is very overhated. And I do understand some of the gripes that people have with the movie. But whenever you kind of can just, I don't know, I was watching it with a different lens this time as well. A lot of different things were going on. It's just a fun time. I don't know, like it starts off banging. I mean, this movie, it's like I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, what movie am I watching? I'm like, because the first
Yeah.
20, 25 minutes, I'm like, hold on here. This is one, looking incredible. Two, like they're setting up the story actually pretty well, and like bouncing
Mm,
back and forth from character to character. I'm like, hold on here. This is actually kind of nice. I hit you up, and you're like,
right.
yeah, understandable. But later on, it does kind of lose its identity that way, and I'm like, oh man, not really. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna be the guy that's like, no, this whole movie's good. And by the
Yeah.
end of it, it's I
It
I
does a
couldn't hold
little
that the
bit.
whole
I
time.
didn't want it
But
to. I didn't want it to either, man. I wanted to come on the show and talk about how I love this movie unabashedly more than anyone else alive. And, I there's a chance I do anyway, just given how much this is overhated, but it's not as god awful as everyone says it is.
yeah, like
And it's
the worst
also
Marvel movie ever made.
no. I'd argue it's not even the worst movie in the Thor franchise. Um,
Ooh,
on a personal note, um,
Love and Thunder.
yeah. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
super fun. Again,
Mm-hmm.
another super fun movie, but just structurally, like it's
This might be better.
I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah. I know that that's a long ways down the way, but I think you're onto something there. Yeah, I mean,
I think
the
too.
first one and Ragnarok, I think, are probably everyone's one and two, and a lot of people love Ragnarok. That's probably the
That's
the
most
one.
people's one.
That's probably the one. But yeah, this one, I mean, it has always been regarded as the MCU's worst movie that they have, and
Fuck no. Fuck no.
I don't know. I guess it's definitely no Catwoman. It's no Ghost Rider 2.
No. I
It's
hold it. I mean, like we've already covered a Marvel movie worse than this, an MCU movie worse than this. Iron Man 2. I think that's a worse movie than this, and I'm confident
mm-hmm.
in that. Um,
Yeah. No, I'd go to this every day before Iron Man 2. Um,
Now,
personally here.
neither of the other Iron Mans, and probably, if I'm being for real with myself, probably no other MCU movie we've covered. On a personal note, maybe the Incredible Hulk, but even that, like, I I I actually enjoyed the Incredible Hulk a lot more than I remembered, so kind of
Mm-hmm.
hard to say. But like you said about what I said, the first act is incredibly strong.
Yeah.
I think that it kicks off with such a bang that the rest of the movie has a tough time keeping up. I think that what is like the second act is pretty strong. I like that we are reserved to mostly Asgard or other realms. That
Mm-hmm.
makes this movie a lot of fun. Um, and ultimately culminating in a battle in a recognizable place on Earth, I think was also good because, I mean, we don't, we got like the Statue of Liberty and No Way Home, and
Mm-hmm.
you got all these other. I feel like you could tell this was shot at this university in Greenwich.
Yeah. No, this.
It was pretty well done, and I,
Yeah.
I enjoyed that a
The
great
ship
deal.
like looking like it's just going through all the land, like it's in
Hmm.
water first and just keeps tearing through, and then like it slowly gets built up. Like I mean, the visual effects. I think we already talked about in the first Thor movie that that it looked great, especially Asgard. On Earth, things were okay, but they weren't quite what they were on Asgard.
Hmm.
But here, I mean, I kind of think everywhere was shot better than the first Thor movie. There weren't as many Dutch angles. There were a few. There were a few in this
There were a
one, but
couple.
that
They got
caught
him
me.
in there.
But not nearly as much as we got in the
No.
first one. But yeah, Asgard was beautiful, and even on Earth, I thought was actually done well this time. Um, but yeah, all the other realms like were instantly recognizable. You knew when we were on Asgard. You knew when we were on Earth. You knew
Mhm.
when we were on whatever the Dark Elves' home planet.
Vanaheim
Yeah,
or
Vanaheim.
Svartalfheim.
Yeah, all those. It was pretty instantly recognizable because there was a lot of like fast teleporting. Like
Oh
we're on
yeah,
Earth.
yeah.
Oh, now we're here. Now we're there. And
Now
so, but
we're
it
on
was
Jotunheim. Now we're here. Yeah,
hmm
yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah, very easy to tell where we were the whole time, which I think is they create a very unique landscape for each realm, and makes sense. They are completely and vastly different, and
Yeah.
I this movie the movie itself is what it is, but now like post Loki season 2, it got me. This is the first movie that we are watching in the MCU that is after 2012. This is our first Phase 2 movie, right?
With Thor and
Um,
Loki, yeah. Iron
yes.
Man 3.
Oh, I guess true. Yeah, but that's yeah, very contained. I guess with Loki is my main point that I'm trying to make is because TVA Loki's doing his thing now, and that kind of changed the game for me. And I'm like, okay, so all the stuff before Loki's not doing his thing, but now he is. Let's see if
Yeah, the
if
time
there's
stuff is
anything
so
more.
confusing.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
confusing
because this Loki that
because
we have isn't even. He's just gonna
no,
go die in Infinity War.
yeah, this Loki goes on to die in Infinity War, which was a part of Kang's sacred timeline because that's what is shown to Loki in Mobius's TVA thing. So if Loki is influencing anything, he's letting Kang's sacred timeline stand because it has to go the way that it does so that Infinity War can happen the way that it does and Endgame can happen the way that it does. So like all that shit, no fucking clue. No
Yeah,
fucking clue.
it is.
That's why, like, I
It's
let you do the theorizing and I'll just listen, you
Yeah,
know? I'm
I
like,
mean,
I don't fucking know,
I definitely
dog.
go too deep. That's for sure. Like, there's like little details that there's no way they're gonna call back to. But where I will say that there is something here is during season 2 of Loki, they used this movie to promote the finale of Loki season 2 with Odin saying you were never meant for a throne or whatever. The clips come from these movies, or from this
Your
movie.
birthright
Yeah,
was to
specifically.
die.
So, maybe that's just whoever's running the TikTok page, or I guess Instagram, whoever's running their social media, maybe they just thought it was funny and posted it up there. Or maybe maybe they're trying to say, like, hey, maybe we are going to dig up some of this old Loki stuff. Because
Mhm.
Loki's, if they're going to go forth with him as a big character moving forward, it's going to have to be some pretty big, heavy stuff, I'm assuming. It can't, it's either they're going to have to ignore him and just he's there holding it together, or something's going to have to happen. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
And
that's always been my thing with the Loki theory is that like where he's at, I almost feel like he's not influencing shit.
he's just the
He's just
literal fabric, or like the literal
the
strength
yeah,
that's
the
holding it
loom.
together.
Yeah,
Okay.
he is now the loom by
Mm-hmm.
which all timelines have the opportunity to run through. Granting the opposite of his influence, free will. Um,
Yeah,
that's kind of how I've looked at
it
Loki's.
is all
But
super
that's the
weird.
thing is there a Loki in the future? We do this with Bran on our Winter is
Mm-hmm.
Blooming show all the time.
Yeah.
With in our Game of Thrones, is Loki in the future from this same position, looking back like, oh, now I know I need to do something. Like, there's all sorts of shit. His
Mm-hmm.
position outside of time really does put him in a precarious position in
Yeah.
terms of influence.
My big thing, if I were to make like one guess on where Marvel is going, and like just to kind of put it out there, it would be that it is all a loop. That everything we do see is a loop, not just the movies we have seen, but like literally the creation of the universe, multiverse, whatever you want to call it, and then it eventually dies, and then it all starts back up again, and goes this way. And it makes sense if like someone is at the top ruling it like a Kang, and it
Right.
always goes back, and he's always on top. He would make it that way for himself. but maybe it's not supposed to be a loop. You know, like maybe that it's just because of what Kang is doing that makes it a loop that puts him back on top.
It's
So like
become a loop.
I
Yeah.
feel in my head I don't know whether Kang is a pawn for Loki or Loki is a pawn for Kang.
Right.
It's like I go back and forth whether Loki's the one in true power here or if Kang is the one who got lucky by Loki doing this and then like it falls perfectly into Kang's hand again. That I don't really know. But you're right. It feels like Loki doesn't really have a lot of power where he is, which
Well,
is
and
very interesting.
I don't think it's that he doesn't have a lot of power. I think it's that he's not wielding his full
He's
capabilities in the
choosing not
position he's
to.
at.
You mean he's
He's
like
choose.
choosing not
I
to?
feel like the morals of the Loki series and where
Yeah.
Loki comes to
Okay.
is that he wants to allow but there's a complicated thing there because he also has those conversations with Sylvie right before about how maybe Kang had a point, maybe there does need to be a control of some sort because otherwise it'll spin out. So like there's all sorts of
Mm-hmm.
shit going on there. And frankly, I haven't watched I watched the show week after week when it was coming out, but I haven't like rewatched it since. So I could probably benefit to refine this theory with you
Mm-hmm.
if I watched the show.
The only thing during this movie that actually got me to like want to talk about it and want to like give it some thought was how perfect all of these teleportations and portals and all of these things are. Like Jane Foster perfectly walks up to a portal that teleports her to right where the ether is. And guess where it comes out on the other side? It's where they end up, her and Thor, at the very end, whenever they're like, oh shit, now we're just stuck on this planet. We don't have anywhere to go. And then Jane's like, oh, there's that shoe. There's that can that I threw in the portal. We're
Mhm.
right here. We're right where I fucking started.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's quite a loop in itself right there. You know, like already made from the very start. That portal was there already, and it already opened, right? That's where it opened and closed. And I'm like, okay, that's a little weird. Could just be plot, magic. They needed it to happen and whatever. But then the ship is about to fall on Jane and Thor, and what happens? I mean, Selvig might have done something there to teleport it, but it seems that like no one did anything. That just happened on its own. Like the teleports that happen seem to just happen on their own. No one is innately controlling it unless Jane is literally twisting a little knob and then the soldiers disappear with the grav
That's a
spike
good point.
things.
They definitely did not emphasize that Selvig did that. I thought I just
Yeah.
kind of read it as though Selvig did that, but I suppose they didn't make a
I
point
don't know
to
if he did. I in
say he
like
did.
and how they would get the whole ship. They just had that little bloop, that little bubble that got rid of like five soldiers
Yeah,
or like
a
six
few of them.
soldiers, and I'm like,
Yeah, it's a different
so
level there.
I don't know. And then like also Malekith, his arm, he gets an arm sliced off in a cool little Phase 2 Star Wars tribute here. Everyone in every Marvel movie in Phase 2, someone gets their arm chopped off, which is cool.
Well, Thor also does.
Yeah, Thor, Malekith, a lot of people get their arms chopped off here in Phase 2. But Malekith's arm out there on that planet, he's
Partial
imbued.
time.
He's imbued with the ether at that point. That arm is just chilling out there. The lone arm. And I want, I wonder if they put that there as to like if we ever want to come back and then have the ether be so, how like Venom like had his little symbiote transfer to
Yeah,
Mexico
yeah.
or whatever sort of
What
thing.
what stone did the ether end up becoming?
And that's kind of a little, they didn't fucking know what they were gonna do because the ether, it's supposed to be the power stone technically, like in comics red, power stone or the power gem is what they call it,
Hmm,
but it
that
given to
became
the
reality.
collector, it becomes the reality stone. um yeah, so but like it doesn't seem like the reality stone, this is the only one where it's kind of a little up in the air, and James Gunn just hasn't come in and made Guardians of the Galaxy and established all the lore for the stones yet, so maybe they just didn't know where they were going to go quite yet.
Yeah,
um
lore light. He was like,
mhm.
you know what? Let's give it basics.
Seems to be reality though, even in the context of the movie. Like when Jane gets taken over and she sees Asgard fully dark, that's not Malekith doing something. That's just her. That's
No,
just
no,
like
no.
that's just the
That's
stone.
actually I had a tough time picking a shot after the first
Mm,
act. Um, that's the shot I'm going with. Whenever it goes all
ooh,
red and the
yeah.
ether appears before her, yeah. It's simple. It's nothing like groundbreaking. It's just kind of I like that it doesn't look real.
Yeah,
You
her
know, like they're
eyes
not
like
going.
change first. Like
Yeah,
it like her eyes change and then everything just gets dark and it was like
yeah,
it
they're
was
not
pretty
going
cool.
for a hyper realist thing going on there. It is a
Mhm.
little surreal, and I think that's cool. It's quite the swing, and I actually dig Alan Taylor a whole lot, the director of this movie.
Mhm.
He big proponent in Game of Thrones early on. To touch back on Winter is Blooming
Okay.
a little bit. He directed tons of episodes of The Sopranos. He directed the Sopranos prequel movie, The Many Saints of Newark.
Mm.
Dude's had a career on him.
Yeah.
So I always like this the style this movie starts with really strong,
Mhm.
and I think it just starts to lose it a little bit the more it like, and the second act's really not that bad either. I don't want to undersell
Mhm.
it as like I think it's just a steady downward tread, like first act, second act, third act, I
Yeah.
think. Because the third act is what I'll give people. It's not very good. I like it. It's fine. It's bloated as shit, and the order of operations doesn't make sense to me. I like not in the literal sense. Like I
Mhm.
get why
Like
they're
the whole
going from one thing to
trickery
the
and
next.
everything that's going
Yeah,
on like Thor,
and that's
yeah.
fine. I like that, but I question why we had to have that face off at Svartalfheim at all instead of just going to Earth and doing it.
I think it was to get the ether out of Jane. I think they knew that there's no way to get it out of her unless Malekith or a dark elf literally takes it out. Oh, but
And
why
I
can't
know.
that be done on Earth?
Why can't that be done on Earth? That's my point. Like that's what I'm saying.
Ah, okay.
Because I mean,
Well,
like
I guess.
Svartalfheim was a cool base of operations for Malekith. I dug that.
Mm-hmm.
It's an ugly as shit place though, and I know that's the
It
point
is.
of it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the point of it. It's the dark planet. It's the dark world, quite literally. It's
Yeah.
the title of the movie. It has to be
Mm-hmm.
in the movie. Um, but I mean, it's a
Oh,
barren wasteland that's
okay.
boring as shit to look at.
I guess logically, maybe the goal was to win here and not have him go to Earth at all. To because you
Oh,
know,
that's right, because the
he
ether was supposed to
destroyed.
get
Yeah,
destroyed
he thought that he
on
would
yeah.
destroy the ether, but then it's nah, not strong enough. You need, I guess, all 5 or 6 stones to do that.
Mhm.
I don't know. I wonder if like,
Yeah, but we go from Svartalfheim
mm-hmm.
to the little planning sesh at Selvig's, right? And then we go to Greenwich. So it's like this awkward, clunky little middle part
Yeah, it should have
where
felt immediate. You know, it should have
mhm,
been like, oh, he has the ether, he's going to Earth where everything's converging.
like
And that's another
Jane
thing.
Jane had the ether within her. She should now also be able to sense where the ether is in my head. Like
Ooh,
that's a simple fix
ooh,
right there. There doesn't need to be a, you know,
yeah,
like
I like that. And it would have made Jane a little bit more important too.
yeah.
And like, I don't think that she's sidelined completely, but there's a lot of times where it's like she's a very crucial character right now, and she's kind of just asleep, or like they literally
Mhm.
made her like just pass out like in the ship and like is she okay, and Thor's like yeah probably, and they just keep going on. I'm like
Yeah.
no, wow,
No,
oh
and like
sure.
that's what makes the first act so strong, you know, and the beginning of the second act is the way that dude, we talk again, I'm a connected to Game of Thrones again. Whenever someone discovers a larger world beyond them, like
Mm-hmm.
stuff is not what I thought it was, and she already knew this stuff was real, but to see it was a whole different thing. When she gets to take
Oh
the Bifrost and
yeah.
she's flying through it, and she's just looking around like holy shit, and then she gets there and goes, "We have to do that again." You know, like
Yeah, it's
I
nothing to
love
Thor,
that
but
scene.
for her it's like what the fuck is happening right now, you know,
Just a
like it's
quantum field generator.
yeah. Oh, I love that, man. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
no, it's not. Well, does it move quantum or molecular? I don't know what the fuck. She went
Yeah,
hard
whatever the
there
fuck
for
she
a
says.
second, and then
I
she's
feel
like, yeah. And then the Asgardians are
yeah.
kind of like, actually, yeah. How do you know that? What the? You're like,
She's like,
okay,
"Science,
um,
bitch." Yeah.
yeah. Uh, my line does come from Jane, herself. It is whenever Thor pops back on Earth, and you know you think they're about to have a nice run up and hug slow motion moment. No, she goes up and just whoosh, gives them one good smack. You know, that's for what was the first one for? That's for forgot what the first one was for. But she smacks him twice. Gives him a good whoosh,
He
that's
says the first one was like, I had to make sure you're real, I think.
oh,
Like
that's
she's
right.
like,
Yeah, had to make sure you're real. Had to make sure it's you. Whoosh. And that one is just for leaving and and not coming back, not telling me
why
anything.
didn't
What
you
the
come
hell?
back? Yeah.
Oh well, the Nine Realms were at war, and I had to go in the fighting in four of the Nine Realms, and she goes, well, as excuses go, it's not terrible. And
Yeah.
she has a few of those moments or lines like that. Like
Oh,
Odin,
dude.
she gets into Asgard. Odin's like, she doesn't belong on that table any more than like a goat belongs. Like, I mean, compares her to a farm animal. And then like Jane's like, excuse me, who the hell do you think you are? And then Odin's like, I'm Odin, king of Asgard. And protector of the nine realms, and then
Your Grace,
yeah,
like,
yeah, and Jane's like,
oh, my bad.
okay,
Go
sorry.
off, King.
Sorry. First thing I said to your dad, Thor. My bad. But then she actually gets one. Good line delivery, a good punch in with Loki. The first time she sees Loki, just gives him a right cross, and just that one's for
Sure.
New York.
Yeah.
So I did like all of the interaction she had with Thor, Odin, and Loki. I really
No, yeah,
liked.
and it
Yeah.
reminded me that she's never actually met Loki, which was hilarious. She never comes face to face with him in Thor 1 because he sends the destroyer to
Oh
Earth.
my God,
So
that's right.
like,
She literally says, "You're oh my God, you're Loki," or like something like that. And then when she puts the two
yeah.
together, then she punches him. That's right. I
She's
forgot.
like, your brother is that Loki? Like, and not literally, but she's like, this is the Loki you're talking about when you say your brother. Yeah, like, I love
Mm-hmm.
that shit, man. I love they've got some of my favorite chemistry in the MCU, Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman. I love whenever he's explaining the
Oh,
Yggdrasil and
in
the
the
nine realms all
library.
wrapping
Oh
around,
man,
and
I
they're
love that.
well, he's standing on the balcony, and he like he moves his hands with her hands,
Ah.
and
Mm-hmm.
she's like, I like the way you explain things. That whole
Yeah.
and the part whenever they're like staring at each deeply into each other's eyes, and she's like,
I
I can't,
yeah. I wanted to
I
say,
don't
uh,
what?
I I do. You do? She's like, you do? I what? Yeah, and then like, I what?
What?
and then they kiss. It's like
Yeah,
it's
no,
the
it's
perfect.
great.
I don't know. On one hand, I wish.
It's a great microcosm of their relationship.
Yeah.
Like,
I wish Jane could be a
especially
little
this
bit more confident in herself, and not just be
is,
so oogly googly over Thor all the time. Like, I love the way you explain things, or like, or whatever. But like,
yeah,
then
it definitely does make her a little.
I have to realize this is Thor. This is the god of. This is a god. Like
Yeah,
it's not
no.
just like
Whenever
you find a
whenever
dude
he
on the street.
appears in the subway station, and he's like, how do I get to Greenwich? And they're like, 3 stops that way. And then she like, the train takes off. She like leans in and she's like, oh, like, that's what everyone would
Yeah.
be like in the presence of Thor.
Hmm.
It's what I would be like in the presence of Thor. I'd be like,
Come on.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean that dude she went on a date with, like she's like, all right, or the dude's like, all right, there's obviously some guy or something, whatever.
I actually like that dude a lot. The
Who?
actor, his name's Chris O'Dowd.
Hmm.
Dude's hilarious. He's in a
Yeah.
bunch of shit I've watched, and I didn't realize this was him. And then he popped back up when I was watching this movie, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know.
He's a good actor. He's a funny dude.
Yeah.
Um,
And at least you got to go on a date with Natalie Portman. That's really cool.
yeah.
I wish I could do that. But when the previous dude is Thor,
Seabass, 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 Seabass.
I'm gonna stay here saying Seabass all by myself now. Thank you. Yeah, he
Thank
made
you.
it like real sad, which was,
Yeah, no. Well, and
uh,
like it would be, it would be real fucking disappointing. It'd be like, okay, well, you go do what you got to do. You're clearly dealing with other shit. This sucks because you're super fine.
yeah, yeah, and
But yeah, no, like whenever he tries to like relate to her, and he's like, yeah, no, I've been through it, been
yeah.
through it.
I had a long distance too. She moved to New York, and the
That
distance
really
just
did it.
couldn't
Along
do
with
it.
sleeping with other guys, so many
Oh,
guys.
she was like, oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, very awkward date. Love that Darcy had a little cut in there too. She just pulled up the chair, started
yeah.
buttering up some bread.
Darcy and her
You know,
intern lover.
Oh man, that was awesome. Yeah, like you saved my life. Oh my, and
The
just they
cut and cheese
just
dipping him is
yeah.
outstanding. I love it.
Darcy,
And that's see,
Ian,
that's the kind of shit that
Selvig.
like
Yeah, like they all go that back and
yeah.
forth. Like Mew Mew. I love
Yeah,
Darcy's
yeah,
little
like,
Mew
and
Mew.
that's the
But
kind of stuff that Taika Waititi sees in this Thor movie and
mm,
goes, "I'm gonna make the whole movie that," like, and it's good, it's fine, it's funny,
mm-hmm.
um, and specifically with Love and Thunder, like Ragnarok has a lot of serious overtones, and so I don't want to undersell Love and Thunder as well. Like Love and Thunder does have a lot of
That's
serious
I kind of
stuff to
I
deal
kind of
with.
like it. I don't know. I kind of dig it. Just as a fun movie to watch. I
Oh
still
no, don't get
probably
me wrong.
agree that it
I
is the
like Love
bottom.
and Thunder.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's not a Thor movie I don't like. Don't get me wrong. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that there are certainly these are certainly the bottom two. Dark World and Love and Thunder, and personally I hold this in a higher regard than Love and Thunder. Um
Mm-hmm.
it it's just a the tonal shift is it feels like they overcorrected from the reception of Thor the Dark World. Um they
Hmm.
swung the pendulum too far in the other direction. And I'm not one to be like we need serious Thor back cuz like you said, look both of these first two movies. They have goofy ass parts.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's an overly serious just stone faced man, like he's
Mm-hmm.
a goofy guy. He's got goofy side characters, and that's what the comic book movie genre is all about. But there was a certain heart to this story in terms of just the connection he made that I don't know. I feel like it loses steam a little bit. But I don't know. Maybe I feel differently whenever we rewatch them. But
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, we do have some time to get there, and maybe that time removed from Love and Thunder, and we go back to it. Who knows? Maybe we end up liking it a whole lot more. But I mean, as of right now, I'm pretty confident that this is number not the bottom at least. I can say this isn't my least favorite Thor, especially after all the Loki stuff coming in here. Like I did watch it through that lens pretty heavily, this watch, and like I'd love to believe that Marvel's actually doing all this stuff. That they're gonna look back at all these old movies and not retcon. I guess it is a retcon, but it's like making the old stuff work for their new. I guess
oh yeah, for
that's
their new
basically a
canon.
retcon. Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
But if doing it this way can make it seem that it was always meant to be this way, sort of thing. And the part that like clicked for me that I would like the most is that if this is the first time we are seeing the loop be broken, um, and that this is we're not on the same loop. This is a completely different path, and in my head, Odin and Frigga were probably supposed to die here. If the loop were to go correctly, I would say Odin and Frigga die. Odin was like ready. Odin, like he purposefully, like I feel like he purposefully discarded things too easily. And like in the last movie, he wouldn't have. Like I don't know. Like he was the wise king. He was the one who like knew everything, and maybe they just needed Thor to be the one to have made the right decision to make it the transfer of the throne work there. But it felt to me that like it was mentioned that whenever they were talking about Jane, I think, and he's like, why are you loving a human? Like you'd be so much better off with the people right in front of you. And Loki says some stark remark of like, or no, that is a different thing. I think Loki's talking to Thor or someone about asking about their lifespans, and Loki says give or take about
yeah.
five
Odin.
thousand
He's
years.
talking to Odin.
Yeah, okay. He says give or take about 5,000 years for their
Mhm.
lifespan, and that's a very
We live, we die.
yeah. Why
Yep.
5,000 years, and why is the convergence every 5,000 years spot on as well? I don't think that's a coincidence there. So I feel like the convergence is supposed to be like kind of like the death of the universe. Like I think maybe Malekith is supposed to win here. Like maybe that's the
Mhm.
goal for a complete rebirth sort of thing. I don't know. And if Malekith wins, Thor would be the one on the throne. Loki would still be in jail. If all of these things were to go completely perfectly, I feel like the loop would actually go over again. But I really hope that it is kind of like we're seeing the first time it has been broken, and I love to think that Loki is doing some things to help out his brother, like maybe he prolonged Odin's death for a little bit so that they could have it together in the next movie, or all
Yeah,
of
and it is his death is just kind of like, I'm dying now.
exactly. So, and I don't know. There's a lot of things in this that actually got me to be like, maybe there is something here, and I fully understand that it is all whatever the fuck they want to do in the future. None of this stuff actually matters. Like they don't have to fully, treat it like it's biblical and everything like that. But it would be fun if they try to connect as much of it as they can. And at this time, TVA Loki is, I guess, in his throne. I don't know how that works. If he
That
always
isn't
is, or if
like
it
I've
is after
never
this
thought of it
movie.
like that. When you texted me last night and you were
Mm-hmm,
like, well, it occurred to me that he was taken from 2012. Now, the
mm-hmm.
TVA exists
Outside of
entirely
time.
out of time.
Yeah.
Is there but it doesn't make sense for it to not be the amount of time since he's been taken out of 2012. That's the amount of time that's passed on Earth,
You think, or
like
is it everything that happens in the TVA is just instantly on Earth?
let me put it to you like this. He lives like lifetimes
That's true.
before he does
Yeah,
that.
thousands of years to learn and keep
But
learning
I guess he
everything.
keeps time slipping back to a certain point. So but
But for his
where's that?
time, his clock is a
Yeah,
long, long time. But that's why I think like it being outside of time is so important, as to say like everything that happens in the TVA is not the same clock that's happening on Earth. Like it is,
right.
it's either instantly, like it's, you don't even like, the TVA could, in TVA time, 5,000 years could go by, but it would be a single second on Earth, or instantly, or no time at all, or something of the sort.
Mm-hmm.
But just all of, the reason they break Loki out of prison or out of his cell is we need these tunnels to go around, the nine realms. Who knows, there's only one person who knows of these tunnels. That's what Thor says. There's like, well, there's tunnels and only a few Asgardians know about them. And then Thor goes, actually, only one. Maybe it's the only one that works for their plan that they have. Maybe Loki is truly the only one who knows of these secret pathways. I don't know. But, like, he knows how to get to the dark world. He knows how to get to Earth. He knows how to get everywhere. And it is perfect. I mean, every time someone is teleported, it's exactly where they need to go. And the portals are already there, set up for them. It's not like they have to activate them. It's just they're there. And that would be really cool if they retcon TVA Loki giving Thor these portals and making this happen in order for the loop to continue to stay broken or something along those lines.
Right.
But that's the deepest I'll go on the Loki train.
Oh, that's
So,
plenty deep. We got more than enough for a nice little TikTok there, so I'll take it.
and if it turns out to be right, that'd be really cool.
That'd be
But
gnarly. That
probably
would be
not.
gnarly.
Probably
Yeah,
not.
no, I love the idea of the theory. It is literally just the execution in which they would go about confirming any of it that always daunts me.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond
Okay,
that, like the idea itself is super fucking cool. Like
one
I love the idea of that.
tidbit that I'll throw out just in case I get it right is that I'm thinking the Infinity Stones are done, they're over with, but kind of. People will become the new Infinity Stones. Loki is currently the Time Stone. Wanda would be the Reality Stone. So on and so forth. Maybe Red Skull is the Soul Stone. He is trapped on another throne-like place. He's trapped there for eternity. Can't do anything. So maybe that could be something. We could get an Infinity Stone team up, and it's Loki, Wanda, Red Skull. I don't know who the Power Stone would be. Maybe the Space Stone's Captain Marvel. She's imbued with it. And maybe they
She's
go that
imbued
route.
with the same.
No,
She's imbued with the Mind
the
Stone.
new freaking. Oh, that's no, isn't it the space?
No
It's the
power. She's
Tesseract.
imbued with the Power Stone.
Isn't it the Tesseract? I thought it was the
Yeah, the
Tesseract.
Tesseract. Is that the Space Stone?
Space Stone. Power Stone is in the orb in Guardians of the Galaxy, the one that
That's right. That's right.
Star Lord gets right at the beginning of the movie.
Yes. Space is blue, power's purple.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had those mixed up. I thought power was blue, space was
So
purple, but
there's my last little guess, as if Infinity Stones will become a thing of the past, but people will become the next Infinity Stones. And I think that there's
next,
like Scarlet Witch. She is the only Scarlet Witch in the multiverse, so like she is the true reality stone, not just like there's infinite real. I don't know. Maybe they do have
no.
that hierarchy, but like Loki, Wanda, that sort of thing would be the stones.
I dig
Sort
that.
of
I
thing.
dig that.
But
Yeah, especially yeah, and that would grant credence to that theory if there's only one TVA. Loki is the only Loki who is the times, like I like that idea. That's a fun one. Um but yeah, no, as far as I knew this one would get you going. As soon as the
yeah,
movie started and
yeah.
Odin walked into that fucking room and was like, for centuries, like
Thank
there are
you for
things
opening up
older
the
than the
books for me.
universe.
Odin literally
Yeah.
opened up the books for me. So yeah,
Yeah.
and brought in showed me the freaking life tree, where all the 9 realms are, which are.
It'll-
I read this bit of trivia that says in the depiction of the tree that all the realms, the position of the realms, are the Infinity Stones in the gauntlet, which I think someone is confusing with whenever Wong like shows them where the Infinity Stones come from, and then it forms the shape of the gauntlet before like the gauntlet's even like really there. Like I think they're just confusing those two things because I looked at it over and over. There's no even close resemblance to any Infinity Gauntlet at all.
and
It's
also like you're talking about the realms?
like in the tree when
Yeah.
they go in the
The,
library and it
the
slowly pans
nine?
up.
The
No, well,
nine of them?
well, in the tree there's only a few.
Oh, I
There's
see.
only a few that they show. Let me see. I do have it, I think, right here. But yeah, it was like I'm like I don't see that, and the only thing I do see is the colors of the realms are each color of a stone, so that could be
Mhm.
where they're pulling from, which would give more credence to my Odin theory, where he knows where every fucking stone is at every single second of his goddamn life. But I
Right,
won't go into
right.
the Odin shit. I'm more focused on Loki
Well,
now. I think they're going down the Loki
that
train than Odin.
I'd
But
forgotten that this early the Asgardians had their hand on both the space the space and reality stone.
yeah,
Um
yeah, they had to. I don't think that's a uncommon occurrence on Asgard is the
hmm.
thing. Like they just send the stone to the collector. This is the best dude that they have. Like this is the best guy that they have to keep the stone safe. Is that for real? I don't know. I feel like this has been done many times before. Odin keeps his favorite, the Tesseract, so he can have the Bifrost and go wherever the fuck he wants to go. But then it's on Earth and he doesn't even actually give a fuck about it anymore because he created the
Mhm.
Bifrost already. He doesn't need it anymore.
Doesn't need it. Yeah.
Dude, whenever Heimdall powers up the shield that protects Asgard, that engine that was spinning down there, that's Kang's shit. That's like
That's yeah, I thought that reminded me of something. That's absolutely it. It
that
reminds
is
me of
that is
those aesthetics.
Kang's shit. And dog, like I don't like this is why I think Kang is a pawn for Loki is because Loki learns all these things and gives it to Asgard. Like he learns that he had the prototype whatever, but then
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm going back and forth so much on who's the pawn and who's actually at the top right now. But yeah, no, I did go down the rabbit hole a little bit from this movie. That's for sure. Not as deep as I thought I would have gone, though. Honestly, I honestly
No,
probably
I mean, like, your theory has bones. At this point, you're just looking for any little thing that might add a little evidence
I
to
need.
it,
Yeah, that's
So
right. Yeah, I just
you
and it,
you know what your theory is. There's not much building upon it beyond what
yeah.
makes you think your theory could be right.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, my 71 slides of my Odin theory are still over there. Unfinished, by the
71
way.
slot.
Unfinished presentation at 71 slides. That's how deep I was in the Odin theory. But
That was a
yeah,
while back that
I'm
you started that too, wasn't it?
I'm pivoting to Loki. Loki seems to be much more important. But Odin is the one who saved him on Jotunheim and says you were destined to die, but look what I did for you. You're
Your
welcome.
birthright.
to
Was to
die.
die.
Yeah, it's a weird Odin line that like it's a weird delivery. The dark elves reigned absolute. I don't know why he says it like that, but he does. It just sounds
Every
really funny
line
to
he
me.
delivers is fucking. Sir Anthony Hopkins is going ham in this role, dude. He's just like, what if I acted like the freakiest little guy there ever was? Um,
Yeah, he's. I don't know. I love me some
Over
Sir Anthony
enunciating
Hopkins.
every word. It's outstanding.
Oh
Do
yeah.
you think me a piece of bread the way you butter me up so? You know, like
Man, yeah. I mean,
and
even
that was one thing I loved about again early on in this movie was the dialogue. The dialogue was strong
mm,
at the beginning of this movie. That scene between Loki and Odin in the throne room initially, whenever I can't remember exactly what is said. Um, but you know, Loki says, "It's not that I don't love our chats, it's just I don't love them." You know, he's like, "You know what? Never mind. I'm not trying to be nice. Fuck you." You know, I loved that shit. It's and I went Tom Hiddleston again um for a performance. It's his
ah,
second because he got the Avengers one for me. And now I'm
who
giving him this one.
in Thor in
And
the first one? Let's see. Okay, Natalie Portman, she got the performance there.
she got the
Yeah,
sweep there.
it is just kind of. I think Tom Hiddleston does actually kind of earn it here. I was trying to give it to Chris Hemsworth. Um,
He's fine.
he's
He's
yeah, but
good.
like Loki, and I know it's Anthony Hopkins acting as Loki as Odin, but like it's all the times that he is making an illusion. It's weird to think that I have to be in my head. I'm like, oh wait, that's not actually Tom Hiddleston. That's fucking Anthony Hopkins. It's not. Like he's not
Oh,
literally
and then there's that
doing that.
dude, that lackey who reports to Odin, who's
Mm-hmm.
like, there was a body found on Svartalfheim, on the Dark World. And Odin goes, Loki.
You want to know
And
something
he,
crazy about that specific guard right there? That guard,
yeah, what's that?
Loki's never been appeared as that guard before, and it's a new guard for this movie. He's the like right hand man kind of to Odin, the closest to the throne that there is. And Loki, whenever he's going through the hallway, whenever Thor breaks him out, and they're kind of walking by a bunch of people, he goes into like
Yeah.
Captain America. He goes into a bunch of other people. He goes into that guard right then and there. And
Oh.
that's probably like the first time he has him, and then he can go back into him later on, realizing that like he can get close to the throne, talk to Odin, make him leave so that he can be the one on the throne whenever Thor comes up and talks to him there.
Well, and
But
that's super funny fucking like I know they don't like does Ragnarok ever explain what Loki did to get
Odin to leave, yeah, or like,
Odin to leave?
because I guess
Because
Odin.
he's in a retirement home in New York.
Wait, wow, that's wait right now. Like as like this is the moment he went there.
He's not in these movies again until Ragnarok. And in Ragnarok, they go and like Thor tries to track him down because Loki reveals himself to be having posing as Odin.
Mm-hmm.
And they Loki's like Thor's like, take me to him. And he goes to this building. It's been demolished. He's like, well, this is where I left him.
What
That
does
whole
Loki
thing.
do? Yeah. What the hell does Loki do to get
Why is
Odin to
Odin so
retire?
willing to be like, yeah, I'll just go hang out?
Shit, maybe he was his guard and he was like, your wife's dead, your Loki's dead, Thor is leaving you, uh, you have nothing. Leave. I don't know. Maybe he was just really mean to him as one of his guards. Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe another thing they'll call back to and have Loki.
Perhaps.
No, probably not.
Perhaps.
Huh? Yeah, because
I
I
mean,
don't know.
it's a notable gap there.
Yeah, it's kind of
And it's
funny.
something that kind of it doesn't zap the air out of that last interaction between Thor and Odin because it does actually. I don't know why I'm saying it doesn't. Because Loki's acting like Odin and
But saying exactly what Thor wants to hear, and it's coming from Loki, which I think kind of makes it. It would be sweeter if it was actually Odin saying like goodbye, saying goodbye to his son, whatever. But Loki, who has never said really a nice thing to his brother at all, is basically being like, like saying the things that Odin would say. I can't give you good, or I can't wish you good fortune or whatever.
Mhm.
And then he's like, all right, what you know, but go on, do your thing. Um, you keep
See, and
yeah,
that's
you
the thing.
keep
I didn't
Mjolnir.
think of it as him being genuine in any
Just
capacity.
having to act like Odin.
Just saying exactly what Thor wants to hear so that he can be left on the throne.
Maybe because
Because
whenever Thor,
I think Loki already had his genuine moment with Thor. Like, I do genuinely believe that when he is dying and he goes, "I did it for you."
mm-hmm.
This action he is taking, he did do it for him. Again, he's not. He's doing it for himself. But like, it. That's the other thing too. I'm so confused. Like, and I know they never explain it, and they never will. It's nonsensical too, and it's not supposed to make sense, like logical sense. What the fuck does Loki do to where he can fake being stabbed through the chest by a fucking giant beast?
I think that it's just not actually him there. Like I think it's just he can make illusions of himself. He can make 500 of himself if he wants. So I
But
think
they
it's
always make it clear that those illusions can't actually interact with anything. They do that little
oh,
glowy thing, like they.
that's true. Yeah, dude, real every time. No illusion of him has ever made contact with someone before.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And anytime it's ever been they've ever been holding like an inanimate object,
Mm-hmm.
that was part of the illusion too. It's not like it was
That's
he
fair.
disappeared and it just like dropped to the floor. So like that was my thing is that
Hmm.
maybe I mean, and that's the thing. Maybe he's getting really advanced with his magics, and he's
I
just that's
mean,
just where he's at. You
I
know.
have a like. I know the Reality Stone popped up here, but like Loki, he just has the Reality Stone built in. Like it's like
Mhm.
he can just, which is kind of nuts. Like I
He
guess
can
he's.
fabricate anything. That was the thing. That's what separates him from the
Mm-hmm.
Scarlet Witch, though, is that the Scarlet Witch can make those illusions
Actually real
matter. You
with
know, like they are real.
okay,
Um,
okay, that's
and that
fair.
like and they obviously can't be thinking about that at this point. The Scarlet Witch doesn't appear on screen for 8 fucking years in terms of being the authentic
Mm-hmm.
Scarlet Witch. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I guess, maybe he's, yeah, that is, I guess, weird if he knows he has to fake his death. The illusion's so good at this point. I don't know. Yeah, that is kind of a little bit of a plot hole there, as to how he did die. um,
so and that's on a first viewing, a lot of what this does is extremely exciting. You know, it's like that ending is like, oh shit, Loki's not dead.
oh no,
Go
oh
ahead.
no, he
Go
did
ahead.
die there. This is TVA
Uh,
Loki.
this is TVA Loki. He time slipped back in.
But that doesn't make sense because he's not actually nice,
Yeah.
and he's still doing his shit. No.
Yeah, I mean, in Ragnarok, he's taken
Yeah,
over
no,
as
that doesn't make
the
sense.
king of
That just
Asgard.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Unless you want to just live again. I don't know. No, that doesn't make sense. No, it's definitely just a plot hole. Um, yeah.
And that's like, I'm I'm okay with twists and turns. It's fun. It's a comic book movie genre. It is what it is. But like all there is a genuineness to Loki. He obviously means the stuff he says, as we learn come Ragnarok and Infinity War. He means the things he says. It's and in Loki. But within this film itself, like as the film stands on its own,
Mm-hmm.
that's not good, I don't think. Like to take all the emotionality out of the most emotionally resonant moments in the film by being like, psych, he was playing him. Uh
Yeah, you have to do a lot of like thinking on your own end to make it work. Like you can try to make it work because like Thor does say like Loki died honorably, and then you see him kind of like have a reaction like oh like I don't know kind of like oh like kind of cool,
oh, is that what you think?
and
Yeah.
it was maybe that or maybe like wow he actually would have told Odin that like I died honorably or I don't know.
No,
Um,
yeah, that's another way to look. I viewed it as him being like, "Oh, this man really thinks I'm dead. I'm good." You know,
yes,
like
his plan is working perfectly.
mhm.
Um, Yeah, I think it is really funny that Thor's like, all right, you can take Mjolnir back, but obviously Loki just can't do that. He can't lift Mjolnir, so it would have been a dead
That's
giveaway.
true.
Would have
I
been
didn't even think of that.
Yeah, would
Yeah.
have been a because Odin can literally just like he can call it to him like
Yeah.
Thor does, but Loki would have it would and Thor would have been like
It's yours. No, and
yeah.
like that's the thing is that, you know, Sir Anthony Hopkins is a good actor. Loki is a good actor. You know, like be like because he
Yeah.
is emulating Odin in a really
Hmm.
satisfying way in terms of mannerisms because it is the dude who plays
But
Odin.
the one
But
mannerism that is not kept. Odin sits straight up, symmetrical on the throne. Loki's doing his thing, man. He's doing
yeah,
his left lean. I don't know. He always has that menacing throne stance. Um, so
yeah.
the only thing he couldn't keep from his father, but everything else, yeah, no, it was
He said, "Fuck that, I'm gonna be me."
yeah. And I wonder the Chris Evans cameo. Tom Hiddleston dressed up in the suit first and did an impersonation of Chris Evans, and then Chris Evans came in and did an impersonation of Loki doing the impersonation of Chris Evans. So I wonder if they did the same thing with Anthony Hopkins. Like it'd be really funny if Thor or if Tom Hiddleston got in like an Odin, all Odined up, like
Right.
fake beard, all that stuff, and did it, and then Anthony Hopkins watched that and was like, okay, now let me emulate you doing me, sort of thing, to
No,
make
and
it
what's
more real.
funny is to this point, that little bit is some of the most interesting work Chris Evans has done as Steve Rogers. It's actually really
Yeah, he's
fucking
he's
good.
so
Uh,
patriotic and like
you
so
know,
like
and I know it's supposed to be corny and it's goofy and stuff, but that over the topness is like something he doesn't get to do because he's Captain America. You know,
yeah,
like he is
yeah.
stoic. He's straightforward. But him being like, oh yes, you know, like God bless America. You know,
This
like
is
it's
the
super fucking
perfect
funny. I love it.
cameo as well. Like it's a
Oh yeah.
cameo that doesn't matter. It's not a big moment in the movie. It's just like, oh my god, that's Chris Evans. Oh my, like let's fucking go, and then it's over. It's like,
We and speaking of like you reminded me of the Wolverine episode last week where I said that had the perfect post credit scene.
mm-hmm.
Um, this post credit scene, the second one,
Okay. Oh, is that when he comes
brother.
back and just comes
Yeah,
back to Earth, and then they have that
why is that
kiss?
not in the fucking movie?
Yeah, that is very weird, and it's the second post credit scene at that. It should have just been before
If
the
it was
first
gonna
one.
be a post credit, it should have been the first post credit scene. If it's gonna be a
And it
post credit,
shouldn't have been. It should have just been.
frankly, and it could be a post credit scene, but like you know, they do the whole thing where she's like, yeah, he kind of committed treason on his way out. Um, what's the cut to black's on Loki, isn't it? Like Loki sitting on the throne. Um,
Yes, yeah, it's Thor walking away,
yeah,
and then him transferring into Loki.
yeah, okay. But you know, I say you cut to black, you put like you know, directed by Alan Taylor or like or like a title card
Mm-hmm.
and then cut back to Thor arriving on Earth. Like that pacing is horrendous. We want to see that he came back and kissed Jane, and the fact that you have to wait 13 fucking
Yeah,
minutes
it's
through
it's
all
not
these
even
credits.
like you
Horrendous.
don't know what's gonna happen. He literally just told Odin, "I am leaving for Jane. Like I am doing this because I want to. I'm going to go to Jane. Like I'm sorry, I can't be on that throne and do what I need to do. Sorry." And then they do push it past the first one, and then yeah, it is very weird.
And what even
Um,
was the first one? What was the first post
the
credit scene?
collector,
The
them
collector.
giving
That's
the reality stone to the
Tennelier
collector.
Tavon.
Uh
Yeah,
huh.
yes, yes, yes.
Um,
Okay. Which is a cool introduction, you know, but that also would work much better as a second post credit scene, I think.
yeah,
Granted, is Guardians of the Galaxy the next MCU movie?
that's what I was thinking. I was like, they're really getting this lore up here. Um, okay, Amazing Spider-Man 2, not
No,
quite.
Winter Soldier will be.
Big Hero, Winter Soldier, then Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So
Um,
Guardians is the next cosmic one, though.
where we'll get back into this sort of
Yeah.
thing. Winter Soldier's pretty
So
contained.
it's a cool
Um,
setup, and it's a nice way to introduce us to Benicio del Toro's Tennelier Devon, which
mhm.
I think has been criminally underutilized. I fucking love that actor, and that character is super cool. So it's a shame
And the
that he only pops up
potential,
when it's convenient.
he's the collector. He has anything and everything that you could ever imagine. Yeah, to throw that character away and have him just bye bye when Thanos burns him and grabs the stone. Whatever.
Yeah, and here's the other thing is that like I think that's supposed to be like it's supposed to be another layer of like, whoa, Thanos is strong. We don't see the Collector do fucking
He doesn't
shit.
do anything.
Like we don't see him do a fucking thing.
Yeah.
In fact, he comes off as a blubbering pussy every time we see him because he wants to protect his shit and not do anything about it to protect his shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless, sorry to go off on the Collector tangent.
Could've
But
been really cool.
to build on that with future Thor movies, who's delivering that shit? To the Collector, the person who Thor entrusted with a Infinity Stone
Ray
to deliver to the
Stevenson
Collector.
and Sif. What is
Yes,
Volstagg?
Sif and
is Ray Stevens' name in Sif?
These dudes aren't even in the next movie for real.
Yeah, that's why I felt kind of weird. I'm like, really? I understand having two in the same throne room. Yeah, I get that. You want to hide it somewhere else. Odin's dad, Bor, is that his name?
Bor, yeah, King Bor.
Bor hid the ether just underground on the dark. Was it on their planet? Like where?
I don't believe so.
That was a different.
I think it's in a pocket dimension because Heimdall can see all of the 9 realms, and he could not see her when she went there.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're going. She went quantum realm for the ether there, baby.
Or just to a different universe, multiverse. Like she just went to a. No, there's no way Bor could fucking travel the multiverse and like bury it deep where no one will find. And then they go, okay, that means a different different universe completely. We got you, boss.
Oh yeah, we might as well. Let's head to the fucking planet in Love and Thunder and activate the Bifrost and find our way to eternity and all that stuff. Maybe maybe there's some shit like that.
Yeah, I think the pocket dimension does make sense though. And those portals perfectly. The opening of one is in the pocket dimension, and the exit is the. I mean, like, that's the only thing that gets me is like these portals are a little too perfect.
And the pocket dimension one is specifically interesting to me. The other ones, I could see them popping up as a result of the convergence and it being just convenience and all that. This opens up and closes, and I don't think it's because of the convergence. I think it's because of Jane. And I think it's because they want Jane to get it. I don't know who has control over that or anything, but that one,
it is a TVA fucking teleport door. That's all they are. They're open and closed perfectly whenever they're needed, and then it closes right whenever they're done. They're not needed anymore. The convergence happening around this time is, does muddy the water a little bit. Like it could just be the convergence, but the pocket dimension ones are a little bit too weird. And Loki being the one to fly into the cave to travel right to, I always forget the name of it, but the Dark World I'll refer to it as. I don't want
Svartalfheim.
Yeah, him going there.
I love saying Svartalfheim.
So I'll pass it to you every time then. I'll chill with the Dark World. But
always down to say Svartalfheim.
Okay. Well, whenever they did teleport to
Svartalfheim.
That is another very specific in a cave. He says if it was easy, no one would ever do it, sort of thing. So like, does that mean he put it there? Does that mean he just knows it's there? Or
I think he just knows it's there. Because here's the thing: he's also the one who knows the secret passages in and out of Asgard. Is this just the one that specifically goes to Svartalfheim, or is this something he uses to go anywhere he wishes to?
No, I had the feeling that this one is specifically to
Svartalfheim.
Yes, thank you. That's at least my feeling, is that it was very specific, because the other one, he falls just down off of the Rainbow Bridge and ends up on Earth, and that one's just down fucking below Asgard, where he travels.
See, but I don't think that one was intentional.
Oh, that was just a black hole, or like something was closing.
Yeah, he got sucked into some vortex that brought him to, Thanos and stuff, because he also doesn't fall straight into Earth. He hooks up with that army and, like all that stuff. So.
needless to say, there's a lot of retcon potential here with Loki.
Tons.
If they want to dive into it, that's
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good. I have never granted credence to the idea that there's just a ton of holes in Loki stories, like the way that he dies and then is not dead. For one, that's
mm-hmm,
a big one.
mm-hmm,
You could explain that any way you want. Forever, they've always just been like, I have my ways, but like,
mm-hmm. And
what are
even
those fucking
Thanos
ways?
jokes about it. No
Yeah,
resurrections this time. It's like,
yeah.
and we've always said that Loki has been this unsung or like underdog, crazy big character that no one gives credit to. And do you think
Mhm.
he's done after Loki season 2? You think they're hanging up the cape and not doing anything more with Loki? I don't know.
Severely doubt it.
I
I
don't know.
severely doubt it.
I feel like Tom
I
Hiddleston
mean,
just
like, that's the
loves
thing is
Loki as
that,
well.
like, even Tom Hiddleston said in, like, an interview, he was like, hey, man, I thought I was done playing this character in 2011, Like, I thought that when Loki drops off that bridge, that was it.
Damn.
Whenever we filmed that, and then I was in the Avengers, and then I was in Thor: The Dark World, and then I was in Thor: Ragnarok, and then I was in Infinity. Like, it just keeps
It
fucking
does,
going.
yeah.
So he's always thought that he was going to be done with the character, and then he never is. So, like,
Well, goddamn, can he play it well? Like, and
he
that's
can, man.
he's just so talented. I love like the
Mhm.
behind the scenes that he just runs. Like he'll just run around the studio like outside and just do laps, and then ideas come to him that way, or something like that. And he just seems that he would be a very
It
fun
also gives
guy.
him that crazed fucking Loki look that he
Oh,
does every once in a while.
he's just
Whenever
actually
he's
tired.
like sweating and he's like,
Yeah, maybe
and
he's
he's breathing real
yeah.
heavily. It's because he just got done fucking sprinting. You know,
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's perfect. Yeah, no water, little water bottle that they usually use to like spray
nah,
up
he
someone.
said,
He's
"Let me
like,
run.
no, I got this.
I'm
Um,
fully kitted up." You're just walking past, a lot in Atlanta one day, and there goes Tom Hiddleston fucking sprinting by, full Loki costume,
on your left,
um,
he throws
on
one
your
of those
left.
out. Yeah, every now and then. No, it would be perfect. But no, I love. I was trying to think this whole time if I could give the performance to anyone else. I don't think I can.
And there are solid performances. It's just the fact that he is actually in the first Thor movie. Jane Foster is given the material in order for Natalie Portman to perform in a way that makes her the best performer of the movie. She's not given shit in this movie. I still steadfastly believe that in the Thor lore,
Mm-hmm.
uh, she's probably the best actor. Anthony Hopkins could give her a run for her money there. But beyond that,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Natalie Portman.
Idris
So
Elba. I know he doesn't do a lot as Heimdall, but yeah,
I like Idris Elba,
Um,
but he's not as good as
yeah, I don't
Natalie
think we're
Portman.
missing anybody. Technically, Jeff Goldblum is in there, but
And I like Jeff Goldblum a lot.
still
I still
no.
don't think he's as good
Um,
as Natalie Portman. That's the
Natalie
thing. So
Portman can play anything. She can
yeah,
like
yeah.
think of her in V for Vendetta. Like that's what I go back to all
Mhm.
the time. Like I just love that movie and love thinking about that.
I
And I'm
mean,
like,
her and fucking Black Swan
that's
and
true. In
her as
actual non-comic book
Padme.
movies, yeah, like
Her as Padme. Like these are completely different fucking characters. I just May December just came out last year, and it reminded me we'd been watching so much of these
hmm
with her that I'd forgotten how fucking good of an actress she is.
this is
Um,
fair. This is fair. One, maybe, and maybe I just have a little bit of bias towards him, but it is my character for the movie. Stellan Skarsgård as Dr. Eric Selvig.
he was the other one that I was not
I'd
giving
say
enough credit.
I'd say Natalie Portman. They're she probably might still have him beat, but I'd say they're up there. That's that. I love my boy Stellan. I gave him the character just because of how funny he was, like running around naked at Stonehenge.
Yeah.
He's like the dude is just completely lost it, and I love it. And
Whenever he's like, your brother didn't come with you, did he? And he's like, Loki's dead. And he
Loki's
goes, thank
thank
God.
God. I mean, I meant.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry. And he like smiled still.
Oh,
He's like, yes, let's fucking
yeah.
go. He's like,
No,
oh,
he actually
my
he
bad.
delivers my favorite line of the movie just because it's one of those things that feeling it is extraordinary. He says, "There's nothing more reassuring than realizing the world is crazier than you are."
I love
Um,
that. Yeah, he has this whole bag of meds, that he's carrying
yeah,
around. He drinks that one like green little slop or something, takes a little
yeah,
shot of it, and then he's like, "Yeah, I don't need these anymore. I just saw, I like, yeah, they're all reacting just as they saw the
yeah.
same shit. I don't need these
I'm
anymore."
not nuts. Well,
Um,
and it's hilarious. Like nobody's understanding of my man having been inhabited by a god. He's had a god in his brain. So like,
yeah, yeah. So I forgot who asked him, maybe Darcy or somebody. Like, hey, what's been going? Like, what's wrong? He's like, I don't recommend having a god in your head, or like I had a god in my head. I don't recommend it. Um,
yeah,
and it's all of his. This is the where I go deep is like stuff that's written on a chalkboard or stuff that's like written down in the background. I'll pause just to see if anything's cool.
mm.
On his chalkboard, he wrote Nivid, fuck Nivedelir, Nivid,
Yes, Nivedalier, Nivedalier.
the star that they create.
Yeah, the
I can't
fort.
say it for shit, but that thing he wrote that he like that's back there. There's a bunch of other,
That's one of the realms.
yeah, Nivel the Dying Star where they create. That's a realm.
I'm pretty sure it's one of the realms. I think it's Vanaheim, uh, Jotunheim,
Mm-hmm.
Midgard, Asgard, Nivedalier.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. Maybe that's something we could look into because I thought that's what he had written. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe that's not a realm.
The nine realms. Let's see if it just has them listed. Um, Asgard, Midgard, Jotunheim, your Dark World.
Svartalfheim.
Thank you. Vanaheim, Nidavellir is one of them. Niflheim. Um. Oh, that's where Hela rules, I guess. That's Hell.
Niflheim.
Uh,
Alfheim.
Muspelheim.
Muspelheim.
And Alfheim. The Light Elves. That is where Sif dies, I believe. That big creature that's on the ground,
Oh
and then
yeah,
where
yeah,
Sif.
yeah.
That's
And she doesn't die actually.
Oh, she does. No, you had to have a warrior's death, Sif, or else you can't make
Yeah,
it. And she's
you
like,
actually have to. You have to die during the
That's
battle.
right. Okay, that's right. But
But
yeah,
she's
Niven.
seen training. She's seen training Heimdall's son later on in the movie with her new prosthetic
Okay,
arm.
so never mind. Nidavellir coming up actually isn't that crazy. It's just one of the realms that he is studying very, very much about the convergence. So that actually holds up
Mhm.
very, very, very
But it's
true.
cool to think that his contact with the Mind Stone, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's in the Tesseract, or no, that's
Scepter.
what's in Loki's scepter. That's what's in
Yes.
Loki's scepter. Um, that's what told him this basically, and that's what's been stewing in his fucking head.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And then he has
like
like his own research sort of thing where he's like, the ancients were telling us long before during the convergence when they went through it, all of Stonehenge, great or all the three whatever, and then he draws the lines on the map connecting them, and it's like here is where we have to go. And at first I'm like, man, that's really just sure maybe. I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot of evidence there, but then it's like, nope, that's where Malekith is, and that's where the convergence happens. Like, dude, just
you're
kind of
like Greenwich, like they're like okay, which I thought was fucking
I
hilarious.
love whenever Marvel tries to explain like real world sort of things, like DB Cooper is Loki just playing a joke on people,
Yeah.
and then like Stonehenge and all of these other ancient things is just coordinates to help you to where the convergence will happen. I think that's kind of hilarious. And I don't know, it could have been cooler if it was like Stonehenge, the pyramids, Easter Island, see where those connect, and then go there. I don't know, like make them bigger.
Yeah, it was.
Is it
What were the
just?
things? It was like
It was
it was
all in
just
England.
England,
It was
wasn't it?
all in England. 3 places in England, I think. And I'm like, I mean, sure, but
The
like,
ancients.
I don't know. It's like the world's a much bigger place. Um,
Yeah.
we literally
And
go to.
that's the thing with this movie that I think is undeniable is that there's a lot of stuff that is a matter of convenience,
Mm,
like big time. Um,
yeah. Some of it seems planned, though, is the thing. Like, some of it seems planned, and then some of it's just like, well, we're here.
oh yeah, and I'm
Uh,
sure that's the case. Some of it probably is planned. Some of it is probably like, well, we have to build to this, we have to do this, we have to do this, but some stuff is coincidence, and some of
mm-hmm.
it's just. And some of the convenient stuff is stuff they just capitalized on to make it seem planned later on.
Yeah.
Like
And the whole, like, Malekith's plan of just, I mean, that is a pretty efficient way to completely take over the entire universe, is to just spread darkness through the convergence so it's happening everywhere. But it occurred to me, this convergence is happening across the 9 realms,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So could he have gone to any of the planets and looked up, and the convergence is still happening right above, above them too? Did he have to go to Earth? Did he?
I have a feeling that there's something with the position of Midgard that makes it important to be at during this ceremony.
Okay, maybe it's
Um,
like the bottommost layer, so he could shoot into all of
yeah,
them, or
up
something
or
like
something like
that.
that. Yeah,
But that's
that
what I
would
was.
be my
Yeah.
guess.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, again, just so they could have a cool battle in England at the end of the movie
Oh
that's shot
shit!
on
Maybe
location.
Jane was the one who actually knew he was going to Earth, because she says like, I saw him. He went to Earth. He was at Earth. Why was he on Earth? But then, no. Then they have that whole drawing the lines on the map to actually know where they are. So yeah, never mind. It's not. But
Well,
yeah,
yeah, maybe.
that would have been a cool idea if she was like, I don't know why, but he's here. Like he's like, she just sensed him all of a sudden on Earth, and they were like, all right, we gotta. But I guess they wouldn't have had time to plan and get the
No,
gravity ships or whatever. But
there is something where she senses that he's gone to Earth, I feel like, or sees
she,
him.
it is whenever it's being taken out of her. She then sees like his plan. She sees darkness take over everything, starting from Earth.
Okay, okay,
And
okay.
it just takes over absolutely everything. Um, and maybe that's the only time. Maybe there is another one where she has like a feeling of something, but that's the one I remember, is whenever she's actually like getting ether taken out, and that makes sense. Like they're kind of connected at that point, like Malekith and
Yes, yeah, they are.
and Jane.
I
So
think people understand. Like Malekith is generally viewed upon as the worst MCU villain, and I can't knock that perspective. Um, but I do think it's kind of underselling Christopher Eccleston in this role. The actor does a really solid job as
speaking
Malekith.
a made up
Uh,
language most of the time,
mhm.
for one, it's a thing we attribute to like Amelia Clark in Game of Thrones, or anyone who speaks another language. It's crazy when you can do that and still get like the inflections and like emotional
Yeah,
beats across, in which he does. Like there's the whole scene where they're planning their shit, where it's like, um, well, maybe that's in English then. Whenever that is, that like a kind of like a Asgardian double agent there, like that, breaks into Asgard, has like that little stone that turns him into the crazy dark creature. I don't know if there's a name for that.
the cursed.
Yeah, okay, the cursed. That guy who turns into the cursed, was he just on Malekith's side the whole time, or was he like an Asgard traitor? Because
No, he was one of the dark elves that was asleep with Malekith that wakes up at the beginning of the movie.
how the fuck did he just walk into Asgard with a bunch of other people at the same time?
They all got arrested. I don't know what they did get arrested, but that's why they're being taken to the dungeons of Asgard.
Hello. Oh, duh. He's in a cell and he breaks out. Okay. I was
Yeah.
because whenever it happens, I guess the part I was thinking of, or where I was going with that, is Heimdall like looks at him and he's like, he specifically looks at him the whole time and is like, what's up with you, sort of thing. And I thought maybe there was something there that never got, I don't know, called back
Mhm.
to, but no, they did just go to the prison cells
Dude.
and he broke out. Yeah.
And that whole sequence, it's actually a really strong middle part of this movie. The infiltration of Asgard via the Dark Elves. When
Dude.
Heimdall senses it and runs down the bridge and fucking slices into the side of the fucking thing,
Oh
so
yeah.
gnarly,
Oh yeah.
fucking dope. That used to get me so hype as a kid. But that leading into Loki indirectly causing the death of his mother, and uh, Thor showing up and zapping his face and stuff and throwing his fucking hammer as far as he possibly can
Mm-hmm.
was super dope.
Ooh.
Um, but that ultimately leads into the best scene of the movie, which is Frigga's funeral. Uh,
Dude. Dude. Like that's the only thing that's blank on my picks right now is because I'm trying to find anything that's not Frigga's funeral. Literally, I was like, oh my god, why don't I remember this? Why am I crying so much right now? Like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, this is so beautiful. I'm like, this is one of the most
Mhm.
beautiful funerals I've ever seen in my life. And just,
Visually astounding science fantasy stuff, just fucking gorgeous. The score by Brian Tyler here is unbelievably good. Uh,
oh,
and it's just I love when it's just a fantasia of letting the music swell, barely any words are being spoken, and you are just watching something beautiful on screen, where the
yeah.
visual effects are fucking
Like
astonishing
that
and
nighttime, that like
god
it's not even,
damn.
they just see the galaxy like as their sky.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, it's so beautiful. And then like, you have like her boat, like it's a classic Norse Viking kind of funeral,
Mhm.
and you have her boat going first, but then you see all the rest like that are like
Yeah.
following behind her that are all lit up, and then they all kind of shoot a fire arrow after the first one goes. Like everything was just like, oh my god, like how, yeah, you're right, like
Everything.
no words, barely any words were spoken at all, and it was just, man,
And
I
then
was,
it kinda culminates in one of the most affecting moments of that sequence whenever it cuts to Loki in his cell and he just like turns around, like he gets told and he turns around and he just when he like
yeah,
shoves everything to the
just
side of the room. Like it's it's a it's a really moving part of the movie, you know. And I think it would have hit me a little harder had Frigga. I think they did a good job of characterizing Frigga in the minutes before she died, her relationship to
yeah,
Jane, her fierce protection of her, and the stuff she says to Loki, you know, like, if he's not your father, am I not your mother? You know, like
yeah,
they do a lot with a little to
mm-hmm,
make Frigga a character, you know,
yeah,
with her own beliefs, her own standing, her own personality. Like at the end, whenever Thor's talking to Odin and he's like, when you speak, is it not mother's voice I sometimes hear? You know, like he's like,
mm-hmm, yeah.
he's like,
He's,
is
oh
that not just
yeah,
a
because
fair
Odin's
assessment to
like, oh
make of
yeah, I'm hearing
anybody who
Jane.
loves anybody?
Yeah, he's like, I'm hearing Jane. Is this you, or is this the girl on Earth speaking? It's like,
Mhm.
oh, come on, dog. You do the same shit. We all do the
Yeah,
same shit.
when you love
Um,
somebody, it's natural for their way
yeah,
to bleed into yours.
and
Um,
and Tom Hiddleston, Loki's like, when she asked that question, like, am I not your mother? He says like, no, you're not.
yeah,
Like he does double down on it, and then when I hammered in Tom Hiddleston, or when I was like, okay, it's him, is whenever Thor goes up to his cell and it's like, all right,
no more
no more
illusions.
illusions. Like Thor knows. He's like, you can't be like this right now, dude. Come on, and
You
just
are not okay.
boom. And he's like, all right, now you see me, and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, Tom, you are like, you were given I don't know. Like he just had a lot of really really good
He's
emotional
always,
moments in the
and
movie.
he's the most interesting character in the Thor mythos. He just is.
He
Like
was
as far as
before
the
his
MC,
show. He was
yeah,
before Loki, and
even
and
at this
now,
point, he's the most complicated, interesting character in all of this side of the universe,
yeah.
and there's no doubt about it. You know, and I think that framing him that way, like it's always crazy to think about how there are a lot of people who, when they join a franchise and they're in several movies and they play a character for so long, they get like 3 movies to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get 3 movies. This is the third movie that Tom Hiddleston is in, and you can tell it's just getting started. And the fact that Marvel was like, we know for sure it's just getting started. You know, like we fucking love this guy. And why wouldn't you? The dude's so goddamn good as Loki.
Mm.
And the character is, like I said, easily the most interesting in the Thor mythos. Um,
Dude,
Even more so than Thor. Something that stuck out through the first 2 viewings of Thor and Thor: The Dark World is that Thor is not an interesting character. He's
Thor
fine.
is
He's
kind of just
cool
who he is already, kind of all the time. He does go through a little bit of
in the first
development,
movie. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
but like really the strength of Thor is his supporting cast. Like he just has the coolest people around him.
Hmm.
Jane, Loki, Heimdall, Odin, Frigga, Sif, what's
The Warriors
Stevenson's name?
3.
Volstagg. Yeah, like all like even like Yeah, Zachary Levi as a Fandral,
We got Shazam.
like
We got
they're.
Shazam up in
I
here.
think they each kind of had their really cool moment. Like whenever they each got to go up to
Sorry, boy.
Loki.
This
Yeah.
isn't personal.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that was nice. But I was talking about whenever they each had their moment with Loki, and it's like I swear to God, if you do anything, if you even think about betraying him, I'll kill you. And he's like, okay,
Yeah.
understand, whatever. On to the next one. And it's like, hey, if you try anything, oh, what, you'll kill me? What? Oh, is that what you're gonna? Oh, okay, sure. Apparently there'll be a line, or whatever he says. He just plays that role so well. But
Dude, he's so fucking
yeah,
good.
the supporting
Um,
cast around him, it's like no one's doing a terrible job.
no.
And
And I don't want to undersell Thor either. Like, as a character, his strength after the first movie is that he gets beat the fuck down.
hmm,
He loses and loses and loses and loses and loses and loses and loses. And it makes him more interesting because he keeps fucking going. It makes him a strong and capable character.
let me ask you
And
this: who loses even more than Thor? Who is destined to lose? Very close to Thor. Destined to lose Loki. I mean, that's all that he does over and over, and look what it makes him better overall for it. That's why I think there's something to Odin, and this is his lessons he's teaching his sons. Is like you have to go through these things in order to just learn. You have to fail. Like there's I would like to give you a perfect life and have everything on a
failure,
red
our
carpet for you.
greatest teacher is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know, and that's where I go on, go deep on Odin is that he knows
But
all this shit. But
failure. Yes, failure, most of all. I love there's a Yoda quote for everything.
hey, the Kevin Feige's paying homage to Star Wars here. They
Oh, yeah.
know what's up. We're in phase 2. We're in the Empire phase right now of Marvel. But yeah, every time I've watched a Thor movie, my Odin theory has gone down more and more because he just seems that he doesn't know what the fuck's going on really at all. Like it doesn't really like if he's at the level that I'm saying he is at, he should know everything that's happening basically at all times, and he doesn't. He's in a retirement home in New York, which I think is hilarious right now that Loki just somehow convinced him to leave Asgard, leave the throne, and go to a retirement home. But and we'll have to figure that one out. Maybe in Ragnarok it'll be released or made clear, but I don't remember anything as to how Loki got him there in the first place.
I can't remember if they say anything about it. I feel like they do, but
Yeah, I
who
don't.
knows? Who knows?
Man, I really want to give
Um,
another scene some love than Frigga's funeral. I just don't like because the end, the air is kind of sucked out because of like Loki is betraying
no,
him the
yeah,
whole
like that
time,
would that
and
would be a really good scene, but all emotion is the life sucked out of it because he's not dead. Um, he's playing his brother, and no matter how much he might mean his words, he's still playing him. He's convincing his brother that he's dying, which is pretty fucked up. Like he sits there and listens to his brother go, no, like he does the full Chris Pratt scream no
mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah,
Um,
oh yeah, Loki's not. Yeah, it is weird. Like it does just take a lot of it out. Like I did this for you, brother. I'm doing this for you. Maybe in the long
I
run,
didn't do it for him.
I don't know if this is TVA Loki, but it's not at all. This is just the Loki we know, and it doesn't really make much sense. Well, actually, it does make sense with his character. This is what he does. This is exactly what he would do, I guess.
No, yeah,
But
it's incredibly in character for this guy to be doing something like this. It's just a matter of like how that affects the movie. Like, yes, it's fine. It's exactly what Loki would do. That just makes it a worse movie, which is funny, considering we were just saying how he's the best part of Thor. Uh, but the way they treat him actually actively detracts from the quality of the film. Uh, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, and
There's some
maybe
comedic stuff.
me struggling to find another scene other than Frigga's funeral kind of says something. I don't know. Like,
It certainly does.
yeah,
It certainly does. Like, don't get me wrong. I enjoy the movie a great deal. It I, it's not very good. And like this watch more than ever made me realize that people have a pretty decent read of how they perceive this movie. It's not as god awful as everyone says it is, but it's certainly bottom tier MCU. I think like it's
yeah.
fine, but like I think like let's see, where'd you throw it at on your letterboxd list
You
here?
know, not. I do have it. I may be pretty high. I don't know. I do have it above Iron Man 2, so I do have it. It isn't the worst MCU
Ah,
movie.
yes, yes.
I do have it above Incredible Hulk, though, and above Dark Knight Rises. So I have it at 19. That is purely for enjoyment, and that is what this movie is. It is an enjoyable movie. You are watching it for the character moments and for these cool things that happen, not necessarily for the critical value, because me saying it's above The Dark Knight Rises feels so wrong because of just how well that movie is made. Just like shit, like everything about that and performed
Mhm.
and everything. But I'd watch this before I'm gonna go back to Dark Knight Rises again. So right now it lands at 19 for me. Uh,
I did, yeah. That and it's always funny thinking about the logic upon which you place
mhm,
things in this list because some of it is just purely I love this movie that much, so it's up there. Some of it is well, I don't love it, but it's that good, so it has to be elevated above certain movies. This
mhm,
one is I like it, but it's just not good enough to elevate above other things. Out of what is this is our 52nd movie, our
mhm.
52nd movie. This falls smack dab middle top half at 26.
Okay.
Um, which is I've got the three I've got right above it are Fantastic Four, Blade, and Constantine. I would I would revisit those sooner than I would revisit this. Um, because I've officially decided that I like Thor more than I like this movie. And therein, if I'm gonna revisit a Thor movie, it's probably gonna be that one. Um, but I have it above the Donner cut, Ghost
Mhm.
Rider, the original theatrical cut of Superman 2, and Daredevil. Um,
Okay. Yeah, that is kind of my 26. All those movies you spat out there, I do have
yeah,
those movies there.
that's just about
Um,
where it falls for me. It's
But I did realize I had it below The Watchmen, or I had Watchmen below Thor: The Dark World, and for me that's just not true.
mm,
So I did make a little adjustment. The Watchmen moved up. Thor: The Dark World moved down to 20. I still put it above Dark Knight Rises, and that I think what I'm looking more for in a movie, I can suspend critical value, if the movie's fun enough, and if I can
yeah,
theorize, and if I can, have all these fun character moments, I can suspend critical value.
I've
Um,
sadly reached a point where the critical element actually affects
I
my
don't I
enjoyment, and
don't
I
think
don't
that's a
want it
sad
to.
thing though. I don't
No,
think that's a
it's
sad
not
thing.
sad. It's not sad. It's just the fact that I've been on the other side of it,
Hmm.
where like critical value did not ever once in my life affect how much I liked a movie, and
Mm-hmm.
now I'm incapable of separating it from how much I like a movie unless the movie is just that fun. But if it is just that fun, for me, it was also pretty fucking good. So like that's the other thing is that like I don't know how to explain it. But there is the fact that I got the Wolverine at fucking 12. I wouldn't say that's much better than this. I
Mm-hmm.
would say it's better, but I wouldn't say it's that much better. Um,
Yeah, I have it above. I have the Wolverine above. I'd rather go back to the Wolverine than this. That's for sure.
mm,
For me. So I guess and even that, like, that's the Wolverine. We just gave a 7.75, and enjoyment wise, and the enjoyment category is going to be the only kind of saving grace for this one. I don't know critically where it lands.
and I
Um,
mean, critically, I don't
it's
think it's
not. Is it better or worse than the first Thor movie?
um it's an
Critically.
interesting combo. It's an interesting combo of things for me there. I think it is I think it's a worse movie than the first Thor movie.
It doesn't feel as complete, not as satisfactory. There's
And
no.
and we talked about how it loses
Mm-hmm.
itself. It
Mm-hmm.
becomes something else that it doesn't start as. The first Thor does not do that. The first Thor has an identity, and it maintains that identity throughout the entire film, whether you enjoy that identity or not. It is the same one. I think that
I'd
this
agree.
loses its feel over the course of the movie, which I think is a negative thing. I think that if you
Mm-hmm.
maintain a visual language, it'd be one thing if there was like a stark change in tone or something that led to a specific change in visuals
Mm-hmm.
and vibe and tone. It just became more bland as the movie went
Yeah,
along. It was
and
bizarre. It
maybe
was
we were hopping from realm to realm. You know, like we were on that. I don't know where we were first, but that when Thor beats that like Korg, that rock guy,
that's Vanaheim. That's Vanaheim.
Vanaheim. Yeah, like Vanaheim was really cool. Just seeing all the
That looks
battle
great.
there,
Yeah.
um, and that's why I was like, man, are we? Is this what we're getting into? Like, wow, we're like popping into many different places, and
And we
this
go to Asgard
they're
and it looks
all.
fucking
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous.
Oh
Like it's
man, yeah, I thought Asgard looked its best, and or like I thought it looked really good. Couldn't get better than the last movie, but man, they somehow made it seem more majestic and more just I don't know. They enhanced it a little bit, not by a lot, but definitely a little bit better than
I'd say
previously.
so.
But yeah, that's probably it. Just the story is I don't think Thor 1 has a better story. It's just, classic kind of
I mean,
origin
it's got a better story, it's got
there.
a better
But
villain.
yeah,
It's Loki.
yeah,
Um
yeah. Malekith,
Thor actually goes on an interesting journey in the first movie, whereas this one is just I mean, he's serving as a protector, which is cool, but that's all he
just
does. He
doing
doesn't do
doing
anything
things
else.
he has to do. Like there
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
he makes the one decision to go against his father's wishes and be like, no, I have to go for Malekith right now. Like this is the only play. We're not going to let him just destroy Asgard. Which is why I'm like, why was Odin so ready to just let Asgard go? Like they are defenseless, and Odin's confident. He was like, Thor's like, what's the difference between you and Malekith then, if this is what you're doing, like or whatever, and Odin's like, the difference, son, is that I will win, and he even laughs too. He's like, ha, how could you even say such a thing? The difference is I'll win.
Right.
If Malekith came back to Asgard, they're fucking done. They don't have
Yeah.
anything. Like I don't know. Like he, that was the only part of me that was like Odin just felt a little weird. This movie, he felt.
And I mean, that's the thing is that Jane doesn't feel complete. Thor is one dimensional. Odin doesn't feel complete. They do as much as they can for Frigga in a extremely limited amount of time, so she doesn't even really get to be fleshed out completely.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, just.
Heimdall has a couple cool moments in terms of just being like the ride or die homie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like whenever Odin pulls up in in
Yeah.
the
Here to
little
report treason.
Bifrost. Who's my own?
My own.
I was like,
Yeah.
God damn it, Heimdall, you're so fucking cool. And like
Heimdall's a G, dude.
the shot of his
Like,
eyes when he's
I actually
talking to
haven't
Thor.
picked a character. I'm gonna go Heimdall.
I like
I'm gonna
that.
go Idris Elba as Heimdall.
I like that. Yeah, we got Eric
Because he is
Selvig
such
and
a ride
Heimdall.
or die. Yeah, because he is such a ride or die, down for whatever for his boy. I fucking love that. Whenever he is looking out at the galaxy and he's like, it is beautiful for those with the eyes to see.
And, and it
And I
sparkles like
see
it.
him,
Oh man, yeah,
dude, gorgeous.
yeah.
And the idea that Heimdall has maintained an empathy, because it's the same. It's not really that much different than what, like, obviously Dr. Manhattan has a much greater capability to affect things. He can actually do shit to change shit. But Heimdall sees everything all the time. And he obviously can't see the future. It's not like he's experiencing time all at once.
True.
But the ability to see everything and not lose faith in not humanity, because they're not humans, but like
he
life
sees all the
and
worst,
people.
the bad shit that happened. He sees everything. It's more like it's hard to think of what he sees, but it's easier to think of what he doesn't see. He doesn't see Jane when they're in that pocket dimension, or Malekith when they're cloaked in their ship. I don't know how they did that. I guess magic. Um,
Yeah,
which
dark magic.
wasn't, I guess, yeah, they're dark elves, dark magic,
Mm-hmm.
Scarlet Witch type,
Yeah, type
shit
shit.
over here.
I mean, same dark magic that Loki harnesses to sneak past Heimdall at different points. It's just how it goes. But
Yeah.
it was funny. It was funny whenever you remember during the Avengers episode how I was like, and how did they fix the Bifrost? Like what happened? And then we were like, oh, well, they didn't. They didn't fix the Bifrost. Loki says something about how Thor used dark magic to get there. So I was like, oh, maybe we'll get that. They were just like, now the Bifrost is fixed, which I thought was fucking hysterical. I loved that.
And they didn't even need. Well, no, they had the Tesseract at that point. They still had it. So I guess that makes sense. They have the Tesseract. They brought it back to Asgard. It's what they used to create the Bifrost in the first place.
It's fair. It's fair.
I guess it makes sense that they just but no mention of it. It's just like it literally the first time we get the sense that it's there is Thor's just like, all right, I'm Doll when you're ready, and he just goes, and I was like,
he was like immediately waiting.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
And I was like, wait, what the fuck? Right when he traveled, I'm like, wait, what the fuck? I'm like, what? Is it just? It is just fixed. And then he just walked on the bridge, and I'm like, oh, bridge is there, cool.
Yeah. So like I'm gonna go Heimdall. I'm gonna go Heimdall because that part that I mentioned earlier always got me hype as a kid. Like when I was 13. You remember those like what was it? You remember there was like a gray Dr. Pepper can? It was like the Dr. Peppers. They had Diet Dr. Pepper, and they had like it wasn't Dr. Pepper Zero, or maybe it was, but it was. I can't remember what it was.
Okay.
But for years, for like way longer than they should have, they at least as far as my memory it takes me, they had Thor: The Dark World promotion on them forever. Like Thor: The Dark World Dr. Pepper. If you look that up, there are like I remember drinking that Dr. Pepper all the fucking time and being like, God damn, I love this movie, man. But I used to watch it and like that when that Heimdall part came up, I'd be so fucking excited. My little 13-year-old ass.
Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, God.
It's Dr. Pepper 10. 10 spelled out TEN, like the number. I don't know. This is the first time I've heard of it, but yeah, I see Thor. All the marketing they had.
It was marketed as like the cool.
Yeah,
it was like the cool Dr. Pepper.
Oh shoot, that's actually sick. There was 7. They had every Avenger. You could collect all 7 different
only
characters.
Ever had Thor, so that's hysterical.
Yeah, that's awesome. 2 of 7. Thor was 2 of 7, or no, sorry, 3 of 7.
I only ever got.
But yeah,
I only ever got 3 of 7 then.
That's awesome.
But regardless,
Wow.
yeah, like I love this movie for years. Like I love this, and I loved this character for years. He was always just so damn cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up and realizing that he's actually like Chris Hemsworth is solid, but the character is fine. It's his supporting cast that really gets those movies there.
Oh yeah,
I think that's dope. That's dope. But
I guess we gave him the character in his first movie, right? Yes. Okay. At least he got that because he's not getting a nod here in this one.
I'm not gonna lie. And as far as I recall, Ragnarok, that's the best chance Chris Hemsworth has at getting a performance nod. He is really good in Ragnarok. I will grant him that.
That'll be fun.
And it's not that he's bad here. It's just that he's fine here. It's not like it's he's not the standout though. And granted, I know Tom Hiddleston is fucking good in Ragnarok too. So, what he might actually have a really good chance at is Infinity War. He's super fucking good in Infinity War.
That's not after losing or does Loki die at the end, or that's like the beginning of Infinity War? That's like Ragnarok happens and boom.
15 minutes of Infinity War.
Yeah, Thor goes. He's awesome. Like he playing that like.
He might dominate our favorites come Infinity War. Like everything he does in that movie is the best part of Infinity War. But regardless, and shit, Endgame, maybe too. He might be the best part of Infinity War and Endgame. Besides maybe Tony. But
I don't think I'll have any other
Yeah,
I'm sorry. He will
and
get
I'm
his
sure I won't
he
either
will
by the
get
time we
his
get there.
flowers.
For
Um,
Endgame, for Endgame,
yeah.
but Infinity War may be a different story.
hmm Yeah. So
Regardless,
right now we got Heimdall and Eric Selvig for our characters, which I love. And then I think like Tom Hiddleston, he really earned the performance for this one. I
oh
don't
yeah,
think anyone really came close to his performance in this one at
I
all.
don't either.
But
I don't either. But
Tom
yeah,
Hiddleston,
let's rate this bad
yeah.
boy.
Oh yeah, no, we're there. I think enjoyment wise, the Wolverine. I mean, we just got off the Wolverine. That's 7.75. I think it's either there or like just right below it. Like
Yeah, what are our? I mean, we have Batman 89 at a 7.75, right? Like, isn't that why we put that there?
Dark Knight Rises, Spider Man 3, and the Wolverine. Dark Knight
Okay,
Rises was a 7.5 in critical rating. Maybe that was
gotcha.
the where we thought there, but yeah, that's the 7.75s. Those are those three. X Men is 8. Batman Returns is 8. The Watchmen is 8.
I would not elevate it above the
Yeah, so
7.75.
that's why I said
Um,
I think I'm pretty comfortable knowing that that's kind of the ceiling is
yeah.
7.75.
What
Um,
are our 7.5s?
Incredible Hulk, Blade, that's it. Incredible Hulk and Blade.
That's a
Um,
little bit more where I'm sitting with it. Similar footing to that anyway. Do we have any 7.25s?
Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Daredevil, Constantine, and Iron Man 2.
Okay, some of those I like more than this. Some of those I know I like less. So
I think 7.5. It's either 7.5 or 7.75.
I'll go 7.5. I
I
don't think
think
I can put it on the same level as the 7.75s.
I think that's fair. Yeah, the like we just got off the Wolverine. I'm watching the Wolverine before this, I think.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think it's like at the top of the 7.5, like out of Incredible Hulk and Blade for me. I think it's more just enjoyable. Not
I actually have
overall,
it below
but
both Incredible Hulk and Blade in my little ranking thing.
and yeah,
But there is an element to that again that is I think Blade is a better movie, so that's probably why it elevated.
hmm
Um, but I probably would revisit this again sooner than Blade. Blade is a seasonal watch for me.
true.
It's not a anytime, any place sort of viewing.
Yeah.
And I feel like I could do this anytime, any place. I like this movie. It's a great deal of fun. So I'm cool with the 7.5. I'm cool with the
Okay.
7.5.
Now critically, we are well. If we said it's worse made than the first Thor we gave a 6.75. So there would be the ceiling there if we're going below. Uh, and then below that, the Donner cut is at a 6.25. That'd be the next step down. And then it goes to Batman Forever and Hulk, or Incredible Hulk at a 6. Um, do you think it's lower than that? Do you think it's, let's see, a Superman 2 or Daredevil range, which would be 5.75?
No, I guess not. I think I would put it at a 6. I think I
Incredible
would put it
Hulk
at a
and Batman Forever,
yeah.
yeah. I think
I
that.
don't think I could go. I don't think I could go below. I don't think I could go above that. And I don't think I'd tie it with what we have at 5.75. I think it's better than those. Um,
hmm
so I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the 6. It like I said, it is all in all well performed. I mean the visual effects are astounding. I do think it loses its visual flair. But for a while, for the first 2 acts, really, it's a strong film. I think it's a strong superhero movie. And we just
hmm
talked about with Wolverine how the third act kind of drops in quality. Even that third act, I think, is better than this third act. This third act is overbloated. There's so much going on. They're rushing
Yeah,
from one place to the next and never letting anything breathe. And then when they do let something breathe, it's undone. So, um,
that's fair.
it's yeah,
No,
it's
yeah,
I'm
that's pretty spot on. And well, I mean, to your list, I think it fits pretty well. You said you had it around the Incredible Hulk and Donner cut. Was that right?
I have it right above the Donner cut.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I mean, it ties it with the Incredible Hulk and the Donner cut at a 6.5 flat overall. So it places it around, wow, would you look at that, at 26, halfway perfectly.
That's exactly where I have it. Is
So
26.
there you go.
So,
Um,
yeah.
I don't think we could have had it shake out any better.
Couldn't have worked out better for me that time, you
So
know.
there we go. And I think I agree. I mean, I kind of do agree. It's just I think my list is it's much more enjoyment based. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I definitely
Over
swing a
on
little
my
bit
side.
towards what I think is critically appealing.
Hmm.
But that often overlaps for us a lot of the time, you know? We got a similar top 5, we got a similar top 6. Um, shit, I'd say even our top 10, we've got
Probably the same. I don't have a single X-Men movie, which you do, I'm
I have
assuming.
2 I
Yeah,
have 2 X-Men
I don't have.
movies.
They're right outside. First class is at 11. I guess X2 is at 13. But
Yeah, let's, we're at 52 movies. What is your top 10 from the comic book movies we've covered so far?
10 to 1 or 1 to 10.
1 to 10. Let's do it. It's
Okay.
just
Got
formal.
The Dark Knight at 1. The Amazing Spider-Man at 2. Spider-Man 2002 at 3. Superman 78 at 4. Man of Steel at 5. Iron Man 3 at 6. Batman Mask of Phantasm at 7. Iron Man at 8. The Avengers at 9. And Captain America, the First Avenger, at 10.
Okay. So yeah, you have Iron Man and the Avengers in your top 10,
Mm-hmm.
which is the difference here. I have 2 X-Men movies instead of those.
I
So,
see.
I've got 1 Superman 78, 2 The Dark Knight, 3 Captain America the First Avenger, 4 The Amazing Spider-Man, 5 Man of Steel, 6 Iron Man 3, 7 X-Men First Class, 8 Spider-Man, 9 Batman Mask of Phantasm, and 10 X2.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Here we are. Yeah,
So
pretty.
very similar top 10,
Mm-hmm.
just with a couple slight differences there. And I think it's indicative of our biases from our childhood, you know. You
100%.
love Iron Man and the Avengers, and I loved X-Men in the X-Men movies. So like it just makes a lot of sense that way. So
Mm-hmm.
um good
Yeah.
example of how, we might place things differently, but we have this generally
Yeah.
the same sensibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Yeah. Generally the same takeaways from the movie every time, but our scores might be a little bit. I think I'm a little bit uh, nicer. I
A
think.
little a little loving, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I had an idea recently where I thought it would be fun if we blindly
Ooh.
rated every single comic book movie we've covered on our own,
Ooh.
and then we brought them together to see what each other thought and how different of a page we were on in terms of,
Ooh.
because we might feel the exact same, but it's interesting to see what those numbers mean to us. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay. That
and I
actually.
think that could
Yeah.
be fun. It could be a fun
That
experiment,
would
maybe
be
a
cool.
Patreon thing at some point. Um,
Okay. Yeah, I
because
like
every once
that.
in a while, and it's not like we've already done a re-rating. Every once in a while, we'll be running through like, oh, where does this fall? I'm like, where's the 7? And then you'll say the 7s, and I'll be like, damn, really? Those are the 7s, you know? Like that happens to me every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
But
Yeah. Okay. That would be really fun. Yeah, to see where we do lie. See if maybe if we are pandering a little bit too much to each other whenever we record. I don't know. What if we make this list and it's just so off, like it's great, like we're
maybe
just
that's something. Maybe that's a homework assignment. Maybe we do that in private tonight.
yeah.
Maybe we reconvene tomorrow and check it out. See what we've got going on. But regardless, what did that bring Thor: The Dark World to for us
A
overall?
6.5 overall, which
Okay.
yeah, we're even more mean than IMDb. That's a 6.8 over there. Surprisingly, I thought that thing would have gotten review bombed. Maybe on Rotten Tomatoes it did. Um, let's see. On Rotten Tomatoes, 75%
Damn.
audience and 67% critically.
So we're
So,
even more negative than both of those too.
would you look
It's
at
kind of
that?
surprising. Damn, the public perception of this movie has gone downhill, I would say, since its release. Um,
A
regardless,
75% audience score, that surprised me a whole
that
lot.
is astonishing. Yeah, it's
Um,
astonishing. But hey, man, regardless, I'm happy. I'm happy that we were honest about the way we felt, and that's fine. Everything happens. Everything happens the way it happens. But and with that, we will conclude this episode of the Penny Bloom podcast, and we will continue our comic book movie journey through film this Friday with The Amazing Spider Man 2. As you heard from our lists here, the first one is in both of our top fives. Um, so Like Andrew Garfield. Like Andrew Garfield, we'll see how this one fares. It's been a while since I've watched it, so I'm excited. But we'll be back.
I'm gonna guess just 17. That seems low. What is 17? V for Vendetta? That might be kind of right. That's what I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess 17, and if it's above, I'll be very gladly surprised.
I'm going on my list, sub The Dark Knight Rises, 20, above Thor The Dark World, 26. I'm going anywhere from 21 to 25 is where my money is at for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Um,
Okay.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Been a while.
But regardless, yeah, we'll be back thereafter with a couple more next week. Big Hero 6 and The Winter Soldier, if I recall correctly. And yeah,
right.
this Friday with The Amazing Spider-Man 2 kicks off a month of Marvel. February, there is no DC movies. We are doing nothing but Marvel. There was a stretch there where Marvel was bulking up their releases, and DC didn't do anything between Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman. So got a nice little gap there that's nothing but Marvel. And I'm excited about it. It's going to be a fun little month. We got a lot of good movies to look forward to in February.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite Marvel stuff of all time coming in February with Days of Future Past and Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man and the Winter Soldier.
We are entering a good era, a very, very good
Yeah,
era.
yeah.
So,
Um,
yeah. And our first Game of Thrones video version will actually be uh, this Monday. That's our first
that's
video,
right.
one
And
that will
that's
be
season
released.
7, episode
Four.
4?
Four.
Yes.
Yes. Four is the
Yes.
first.
Um,
And then from then on out, we'll have video from then. But yeah, this will be the
we
first
will
time
have
that we'll have it over
the
there.
last 10, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The last 10 episodes of Thrones will have video. So that's
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah.
We got something there for you. Yeah, so that's Mondays. Winter is blooming, and thank you for mentioning video. If you aren't watching on YouTube, you can,
Mm-hmm.
if you so desire. You would get to see our lovely little setups and our facial expressions and gestures, and maybe at points I think I mentioned something throughout the episode where I threw up quotations. You might not have gotten that if you're just listening. I
That
did
is fair.
because I didn't point it out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like so video, it adds a little bit. If that's for you, it's for you. If it's not, it's not. Keep listening wherever you're listening, but make sure you rate, review, and download our episodes. I would appreciate it kindly, appreciate it greatly. But if you are watching, please like and subscribe on YouTube or follow us on TikTok. We got plenty of clips, a nice little microcosm of what our entire podcast is. It's been a lot of fun doing that over there, and I am so very happy to keep it going. Um, it's been a great deal of fun. But yeah, with that, if you would, head to patreon.com/pennybloom.pod where you'll find over 50 hours of exclusive content, all sorts of book reviews, comic book reviews, movie reviews, and the like, along with all sorts of random discussion, one of which we're about to have after this. Just a nice little quick Patreon. I got some ideas of I'm gonna give my weekly movie review, and I'm also gonna do a little mini review of Poor Things, which I just got to see in
Mm-hmm.
theaters. So that'll be up on patreon.com/pennybloom.pod for $3 a month. You can support this podcast financially, which is huge because it costs me money, and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there. Head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rate and review wherever you might be listening. Yeah. With that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And it's always reassuring to realize the world is even crazier than you are.